Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Just give it a few seconds
Vito,
and then we'll get started. All right, it's 1 o'clock. Hello again, friends. And you are our friends. Welcome to another exciting edition of Family Affair. Thank you for joining. I am Vito Bianca. I will be your home inspector today. Stephen can't make it today, so it is my pleasure to announce to you our lovely general manager and director of marketing. She's going to be guiding us through this day and keeping me straight. She has the heart of Maya Angelou, the grace of Princess Diana, and the strength of a lioness. I give to you the most amazing, the loveliest, the most majestic, fantastic, awesome person I know, and my close personal friend, the great Dawn Perkins.
wow, what an introduction. Vito, the money is on the way. Look at your account right now. Thank you so much for those kind words, my friend. Everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm having some difficulty with my connection, so you see my lovely picture versus my face. But next time, hopefully, we'll be back on track. So again, thanks for joining us. We want to make sure that we stay on task today. You're giving us 40 minutes of your time. We so very much appreciate it. Just real quick, just to let you know, we here at Rock Solid, all of our inspectors are still adhering to all of the COVID rules, the 6 feet when at all possible, the masks, the booties, making sure that we've got hand sanitizer out there. So again, thank you for trusting us with coming into your homes and being with you and your clients. And I feel like today is going to be an amazing day. Vito, who is our master inspector, will absolutely go over the electrical system and appliances in some great detail. But just as a side note, if you've got a question, please use the chat at the bottom. We've got our lovely Deanne there with our Rock Solid sign behind her, who will be jumping in and sending out the question to Vito to answer so that we can all have an opportunity to hear what he's got to say. So to no more hesitation on my part, I welcome Vito to give us all of his expertise, and thank you so much, Vito.
It's my pleasure. And you know what? It's a holiday weekend. I'm really grateful everybody showed. But I think if one more person tells me to stay safe, I'm going to go back to drinking. That's just my feeling. But that's neither here nor there. As we continue our deep dive into the home inspection, we're going to this week kind of roll the report over and scratch the underbelly of electrical systems and appliances. And this one actually is going to present us a little bit of a challenge because I want to highlight what we do differently. I want to kind of go over what the scope of the inspection actually covers versus how we exceed that. But what I don't want to do is get into such a level of technical detail that I'm putting people to sleep, or worse, risking real estate agents with information that might actually throw them off when they're on site. But at the very least, we're going to go over the basics. If it needs to get more technical, I can. By all means, hit me with your questions. And if I don't know the answer, that's what Google's for, right? So we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen and let's see what we got. So let's talk about, let me move that out of the way. Let's talk about what is involved in an electrical inspection. Now, the standards of practice as set forth by INTERNACHI are a baseline. So at its most basic, the inspector shall inspect the service drop. That is the wires between the electrical mast and the meter. The overhead service conductors and attachment point, again at the mast. The service head, goosenecks, and drip loops, that's all mast related. The service mast, service conduits and raceways. The electric meter and base, service entrance conductors, That is the wires that go between the meter and the electrical panel. The main service disconnect, that's the main breaker. Panel boards and overcurrent protection devices, that means circuit breakers. Service grounding and bonding, a representative number of switches, lighting fixtures and receptacles, AFCIs and GFCIs too. We're also going to look for the presence of smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Real quickly, while we're here, when it says a representative number of switches, when you get a rock solid home inspection, we're doing whatever it is we can reach. So if there's 3 plugs in a room that don't have stuff plugged into them, I'm testing them. Ditto for switches, ceiling fans, lights, etc. It's always been our position, if we're going to treat people like family, then it's not fair to hide just behind the letter, because I could technically go into the house, do 1 or 2, and call that a representative number. And you know what? If something's not working, that's your problem. I don't think that's good enough. And I'm not going to settle for that. Even if it increases our liability a little bit, we're going to take care of the client. That's really all I want to say about that. The inspector shall describe the main service disconnect's amperage rating, if labeled, and the type of wiring observed. Really, that just means, is it copper, is it NMBX conduit, is the disconnect a 150, a 200, a 100, a 125? You get the idea. We're going to report as in need of correction deficiencies in the integrity of the service entrance conductors, insulation, drip loop, and vertical clearances from grate and roofs. In layman's terms, are the wires sound or are they all torn up? And are the wires too low coming into the house to be safe? There are clearances. It's got to be way high up if it's over a pool. It's got to be high up if it's over a walkway. It can't be near a window. You get the idea, and we're looking for that. We're going to report on any unused circuit breaker panel opening that was not filled. Open knockouts, you've all had to deal with it. You know what it is. It's a great big scary way, and it's about a 50-cent problem to fix. You buy a clip at Home Depot or Lowe's, you pop it in, problem solved. We'll report on the presence of solid conductor aluminum branch wiring if it's readily visible, and it is, we call it out. And any tested receptacle in which power was not present, polarity was incorrect, cover was not in place, GFCI devices were not properly installed or did not operate properly, evidence of arcing or excessive heat, and where the receptacle was not grounded or not secured to the wall. We test the outlets. Literally this is stuff anybody can do, but your home inspector is the one who's trained to do it methodically. So if I plug in the tester and the lights are reversed and it says hot neutral reverse, I'm going to tell you about it. That way your client has an opportunity to either get it fixed, negotiate it getting fixed, or have a professional evaluation performed, whatever they want. But they're going to know about it. If the cover plate was cracked or missing, if there was scorching on it, whatever there is, if there's a red flag, we're going to let you know about it. And the absence of smoke or carbon monoxide detectors. Did you know the home inspector is not even required to test the smoke alarms? I like to if I can reach them, but really we're just there to let you know what's present and what's not. Which is a good segue into not required to insert any tool, probe, or device into the main panel board, subpanels, other panels, or electrical fixtures. Operate electrical systems that are shut down. That's as simple as turning a breaker on. We're going to use good judgment on that, but we do reserve the right not to throw breakers on. If I go into a house that's been a rental unit and it's been on Zillow for 145 days and I see that the water heater breaker's off, I have no problem with throwing that. But if I'm doing other things and I start seeing red flags that alert me to possible danger that it may have been shut down for a reason, we're going to have a conversation about it. What I'm not going to do is just walk away without saying anything, and none of our inspectors will either. We will deal with that responsibly when we get to that point. Here's another one I never understood really. I mean, I understand it, but I don't like it. Remove panel, board, cabinet covers, or dead fronts. If I don't take off the dead front, how can I tell you if there's double taps, open knockouts, aluminum branch wiring, or anything like that? I sometimes, as a home inspector, I don't feel the standards of practice protect our clients well enough all the time. Good thing there's competition on the ground floor. Not required to operate or test smoke or carbon monoxide detectors or alarms. Not required to inspect, operate, or test any security, fire, or alarm systems. That's just, we don't do that either. It gets a little complicated, but we don't mess with the alarm stuff. Measure or determine amperage or voltage of the main service equipment if it's not visibly labeled, and I agree with that. That's something that's reserved for a specialist. Ancillary wiring, remote control devices. This is kind of a gray area. If there's remote controls for the fans, of course I'm using them to test it. If I need a remote control to turn on pool lighting or exterior lighting and it's there, of course I'm going to test it. But low voltage, things like that, we don't typically comment on. Here we go again with turning on breakers, activating any electrical systems or branch circuits that are not energized. We talked about low voltage systems. Verify the service ground, and I'll show you what that looks like. However, we do comment if we recognize deficiencies. We just, all we can do is a visual inspection. I can't tell you what's actually happening with that rod when it's driven into the ground outside. We don't inspect spark or lightning arresters, de-icing equipment. I wish I had that problem sometimes in Florida. Voltage drop calculations, again, the specialist. We don't determine the accuracy of labeling. A lot of times you'll see whether it's a circuit directory photo that says this breaker is for the third bedroom or whatever, or it's GFCI stickers on random outlets throughout the house. We don't typically confirm that. Inspect exterior lighting. Here's what I have to say about that. I'm buying a house, I want to know what's working or not. If I go in the house as an inspector, I'm turning on the exterior lights, I'm opening the exterior doors, I'm making sure that if any exterior lights are controlled from the garage, I'm throwing them on, and then I jump outside. If it's on, great. If it's not on, I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to say, it might not be working, I don't know, because there's motion sensors, there's timers, there's photoelectric things. I'm just going to make a little comment and say, you know what, check with the seller before you go spending money replacing fixtures. It might actually be working, but I didn't get it on when I threw everything on. And that's really it. How that translates to a rock solid home. Actually, you know what, before I jump into the reports, does anybody have any questions that they want to bring up about the standards of practice?
We have one, Vito.
Perfect.
It says, if Vito doesn't cover it during this presentation, can he address the electrical panels that are on the hit list when it comes to the 4-point inspections and insurers? Would be nice to get a list after the meeting.
You know what? I am going to totally do that. Oh, I didn't mean to stop share, sorry. I'm going to totally do that. And I'm going to do you something really awesome with that too. So let's jump into the reports. And yes, in fact, you know what? Why don't we do this first? Let's see, can I get there? Oh, come on. I'm going into my own software now so you can see some of the narratives we're looking at, which is something I never do, but it's an intimate group today. I recognize a lot of the faces I'm seeing, and we'll go right into it. So where do we typically find, let's just go here, electrical service panel, boom. And here's some of the things that we're going to see. a Bryant service panel, a Federal Pacific electrical panel, a Sylvania electrical panel, a Westinghouse service panel, a Zinsco panel, Zinsco or Sylvania breakers, and their Challenger may or may not be, depending on the year, built, and we're not always able to tell you when that particular panel was built. So that is about as intimate a look as you can get into what your inspector's looking for when he's on site. That's literally what we're working with, how we're judging when we're looking at a panel, how to call something out. All right, let's go to electrical. I'm staring right at it. It's always the inspector that can't see, and I'm guilty too. So on the electrical, and as you can see, we have the descriptions already in place. The electrical service, it was behind a gate at a front alcove. This was kind of a weird shaped property, but I described where it was. It was 240 volts, and it came in from the underground. The electrical service panel had 1610 volt circuits, 3 220 volt circuits. I described the circuit breaker size, where it was. It was 150 amp rating at the disconnect. It was a square D panel, and it was circuit breakers instead of fuses, and it was copper distribution, aluminum on the main. Aluminum on the main is normal, and it's okay. Here we have some where we copied, it says disclaimers. It's really just more of what was in the standards of practice so people have an idea of what we're looking for and not looking for. And then we go through the list. We're looking at some things that really aren't required, but it has to do with it, so we're calling it out. We're testing ceiling fans, doorbells, in this case it was broken, electrical service panel. Here we go. We have a deficiency right away. It was a double tap neutral. Really, it's not a huge deal, and I know a lot of inspectors that don't call it out, but in this case I do, because it has the potential, if we're being technically honest, somebody with a tester, the whole thing could read as shut off and still be live. So it does present a danger, and we do call it out, and I would even call that out on a 4-point because it is a safety concern. We take pictures of the circuit directory photo. We describe the panel, in this case, load center service panel. Means it has a main disconnect and breakers that fed power to branch circuits. And that's really, that's really as deep as I want to get at. Of course, I'm looking for grounding and bonding. I'm looking for exposed wires, open knockouts, holes in the metal. I'm making sure that the wires coming in are either in conduit or clamped with bushings around the entry points, and so on and so forth. But in this case, the panel was really clean, even though it was a little older and minus the double tap neutrals. Here's the electrical service. There was no service mass or drip loop or anything like that to look on. So really I'm looking at the meter. I want to make sure that the lockout tagout's in place. I'm looking down here where the grounding rod is, and I want to make sure that the GEC, the grounding electrode cable, is clamped to the rod, and the rod is driven down into the ground. If it's not visible, I'll note that it's not visible. It's not a defect. I'm just letting them know that I couldn't physically see it. Start testing GFCIs. We need them outside. We need them in the bathrooms. We need them wherever there's wet areas, potentially within 6 feet. If, in this case, there were a couple that were in place, and there were several that were not.
Hey, Vito, real quick.
Yeah.
Going back to the electrical panel really quick, can you please explain why the panels aren't insurable? Is it sparks jump? Can they start fires? I mean, why won't the insurance companies insure them? Is it because they're old?
It's not that the insurance companies won't insure them. It's that the insurance companies, all right, If I had a tinfoil hat, I'd put it on right now. But in my experience, insurance companies have way too much power, and they want any reason they can to not have to insure people. So if there's even a risk that they're paying out a claim, they're going to make you go to someone else. It's that simple. And then when you find that someone else, they're going to charge your clients an arm and a leg for it. So even though it's $1,000 to replace the panel, you're worth doing it because you'll save that money from premiums and possible damage that the companies won't leave you exposed. Now, let me stress, we're inspectors. We have no control over what's insurable or what's not. What we do have is a framework of reference to call out that, hey, these panels have been recalled. These panels might have trouble getting insured. These panels tend to get more of a risk of a fire hazard over time, and we call that out. But don't take my word for it. If I tell you you've got a Sylvania panel, there are insurance companies who will insure it. Doesn't mean you should proceed with that. It means I want you to call an electrician and have a conversation with them. That's the expert. I'm picking up on red flags that might potentially save you from liability or litigation, protect the client, and help you with negotiations, right? But I cannot tell you whether something's insurable or not. Does that kind of help? It's just like being married. I'm going to say I'll take your silence as assent.
Uh-huh.
In the attic, the cover plate was missing. That's a safety issue. It's more so if it's laying on the insulation, but you know, we're going to call it out. Any lights? Here we go again. Lights not working. These weren't on. These were clearly light switch controlled outside, so I called them out just like not working. And there you go. Missing bulbs. Smoke alarms missing. No picture needed. The bedrooms needed smoke alarms, and I called them out. And we'll quickly just give you a couple more, and then we'll jump into appliances. Appliances will go kind of quickly. You can see that the ceiling fan, the doorbell, and the electrical service panel were all checked. Here's the descriptions again at the electrical service. This one was on the right exterior wall, and the panel was, I think, in the garage, but we'll double check it. This one, cabinet okay. We put these narratives in there just to give the client detail. Let's face it, if we're going to document a bunch of things that are a little bit more nitpicky than the standards of practice actually ask for, then it's important for us to also tell the client the good things so they can see it's not all bad. If I just stuck to the problems, oh my God, the inspectors, you know how I feel about inspectors who are scary and the malnutrition of their children. So here's a circuit directory photo. This way they can reference that if they ever need to without, you know, having to walk outside, I guess, but it's there for them. Load center service panel, this one was really clean. It was a type 1, which is less important when it's inside, but if it's an outside panel, you do want to verify that at the very least it's a type 3R that's actually rated to protect the wiring against moisture intrusion, dirt and dust and wind and all of that. Again, the GEC was bonded and clamped to rod. They're very common in the attics. I see it a lot. Junction box missing, but at least it was up off the ground. Here we go, open knockouts. Even though it wasn't a circuit breaker that was missing a clamp, and there's the clamps. You can see them right there underneath the breakers. 50-cent piece of plastic, boom, pop it in, done. But here was something else. These knockouts is so you can put the bushing, run the wires through, clamp it down, and do it safely. If it's missing, it means you get things like wasps. Kids can stick their fingers in there. Rodents can get in a hole that small. It's important, and underwriting is looking for that too. So that actually will come up on the 4-point. But again, it's a cheap fix. Little cover plate popped right in, done. This one, I took the panel cover off and got bombarded. There was about 50 wasps that came after me. But I refused. I thought we had 40 minutes, not 30 on these meetings. Was I mistaken?
Should be 40.
Should be 40.
We're only getting 30 minutes here. That's frustrating. So we're down to 5 minutes. In this case, you can see it was a Type 3R, rated for outdoor use primarily to provide a degree of protection against rain, sleet, and damage from external ice formation. Wherever possible, we try to frame the narratives verbally in a way that corroborates what the client's going to see in the written report. So if we sound like we're reading from the narratives, it's because we are a lot of times, and for good reason. So let's go to appliances.
Hey, Vito, really quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Do bullfrog panels fall in the hazardous category as Zinco? Zinsco, however you say that?
The bullfrog panels, it's not that the bullfrog panels were necessarily bad, but their fuses. The fuses by now are so old that wherever they are, they need to be changed out. And if I see one, I'm calling it out as fuses. And a lot of times they're not designed to protect the home, or at least they're not sufficient for a modern home's demands. The last Bulldog fuse panel I saw was actually in a mobile home. So yeah, if I'm seeing them, I'm calling them out. So look at this. The inspector is not required to inspect appliances. Are you kidding me? Now, the state of Florida is only slightly more stringent in their requirements. So we're going to jump over to that quickly. We do basic function tests. We're not calibrating. We're not confirming the accuracy of thermostats or anything like that. We do what we do in our personal lives. We're pushing buttons. That's it. We're pushing buttons. I'm going to run the dishwasher through a cycle. I'm going to make sure it was bolted to the cabinet. I'm going to take a picture of the manufacturer's label, and our software will run that against recall check. We do that for all the appliances. If something's on a recall, you'll know about it. And we're going to document any defects. The dryer. When I do the dryers, I'm also taking temperature pics, so that way you know it got hot in my presence. It's just due diligence. Run the garbage disposal. Was it noisy? Was it connected properly? Was it leaking? Microwave. I love these little microwave testers. They light up when I run the thing. I'm turning on the surface lights. I'm checking the vent if there's one attached, and I'm making sure the tester lit up when we ran the microwave. Oven's a perfect picture. I'm testing the oven light. I'm testing the oven burners. I'm baking it, setting it to 350, giving it a couple of minutes, and taking a temperature pick to make sure it's getting hot. It's not a confirmation of the accuracy. Again, we're not calibrating anything. Did it get hot when I pushed the button? And of course, if there's any problems, we're documenting that as well. Refrigerator, we tested the temperature at the freezer and the refrigerator. I get real careful about telling you whether or not it was cold enough, because I don't know how they set it, and it's not always visible. It's, but if there's red flags, we're going to call them out. Like 40 to 50, no big deal. If it's 60 degrees, yeah, I'm probably going to say something about it, but you get the idea. Quick note, that little red cup cost me $1, and it is my favorite tool in my whole life. It collapses into a disc. I get ice, I get water. I never have to you ever see the picture with the ice and the water in the hand right there? $1, favorite thing ever. I bought them for all the guys. So it's just a little fun, but we test the ice, the water, the light, and the whole thing. Washer, if it's an older school one and I'm running it through a cycle, I'll lift the lid, I'll take a picture so you can see water in it. Most of the newer ones have locked lids. I can't open them, but we're going to run them through a cycle. We're going to let you know if it worked or not. And ditto for the luxury homes. If They have the little wine coolers. I'll just call it a refrigerator and take a temp pick. Little refrigerators in the garage if they convey, or stuff outside by the pool patio. And really that's it. We got less than a minute left. Please, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go right to the chat. Come on.
Vito, mine says 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do
4
here,
minutes now, but yeah.
just in case, I'm typing my email address in there. Anybody who has a question, wants to continue the conversation, wants to join our Discord server with your Ask Your Inspector feature, anything you want, please take my email address and reach out to one of us directly. Before I'm done, I'm going to introduce to you a friend of mine, Brandon Call. He's with Punchlist, and I'm totally putting him on the spot. This guy's awesome. I'm going to give him an opportunity. Brandon, introduce yourself. Kind of tell us what you do and talk to us about Punchlist, about our partnership.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Vito. Thanks for the kind words. So yeah, my name again is Brandon Call. My company's called Punchlist. We take care of all of these items that you guys are reviewing that Vito and his fantastic inspectors bring up. We take that home inspection. You can upload it to our website. We get you an estimate back on those items within 1 to 2 business days. We have licensed, vetted, and insured contractor network. We manage the project from start to finish, A to Z. We provide before and after pictures and even videos in one nice, clean PDF document to pass back to the inspector, pass over to the insurance company. A lot of the work that we do is focused around those 4-point items, because let's face it, buyers can't get financing when they've got a Zinsco panel, right? For instance. So, we're just here. I'm a former licensed realtor. I understand the letter of the contract. I understand that time is of the essence. And, I know you probably have contractors that you work with. Sometimes they get busy and they don't get back to you as quickly as you need them to. So, we're here to be that backup. Again, we've built an automated process and we can turn around an estimate in a day or 2. And we'll get out and get it on the schedule, get the repairs done, and get you to the closing table so that you're not having to juggle, manage, vet contractors. Also, one big key point, we will hold to closing to get paid. So you guys will be on the buy side in most of these situations when you're working on the buyer side here with Vito and his team. All of our repairs come with a 1-year warranty, and you can hand my estimate over to sellers and say, look, we've done all the legwork. Here's the repairs that we need done for our insurance. And oh, by the way, they give me a warranty that passes along to me for 1 year, and you don't have to come out of pocket 1 penny, up to $10,000, no deposits. I just need to be put in touch with the title folks. So thanks, Vito.
My pleasure, Brandon. Thank you for joining us today. Now go,
Absolutely.
get back on your holiday. I know what you're avoiding to be here today.
All right, buddy. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate these. They're very informative and glad to be a part of it. Thank you guys for all you do. And thank you. Talk to you soon. If there's anybody that I can help, anybody has any questions, I'll put my email and my phone number here in the chat session. It's punchlistusa.com. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, everybody, and a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day. Bye-bye.
So thank you. Thank you again, Brandon. Guys, that's really all I have today. Before we sign off, does anyone have any questions or need any clarification or want to put me on the spot? I'm a glutton for punishment. I'll take it.
You have 1 minute.
All right. Don't forget to copy that punch list information from the chat. Thank you, guys. Thank you for showing up and keeping this going week after week. Next week, if you're going to join, share that invite. Bring another person. Let's get this bigger. I'm not sure what next week's going to be yet, but they'll tell me and we'll get that invite out to you. For now, I just want to thank you for being here. Have a happy weekend. And as always, happy closing.
The schedule is in the Zoom link as well. All the class schedules, it's in the Zoom link. So, or the
Okay.
Facebook post, whatever, in case you're wondering.
I'm just so glad Dawn and Deanne are here to